Let's dive right into one of the biggest questions we can ask. How do we become who we are? For a long time, developmental psychology had a pretty straightforward and, well, frankly, a pretty limited answer. But as we're about to see, that has all changed, big time. So let me just ask you this straight up. At what age would you say you were done? Finished developing? Was it 18, maybe 25? Just think about that for a second, because your answer actually reveals a whole lot about how we used to look at human growth. See, for decades, there was this really popular idea that we all had a kind of developmental finish line. You grow up, you hit your mid-20s, and that's it. You're pretty much baked. The rest of your life is just you living with the person you've now become. I mean, the difference between the old way of thinking and the new one is it's night and day. The old belief was, okay, by 25, you're set. Your childhood experience is basically locked in your future. But what modern science tells us is a totally different story. Development is a lifelong process. The things that happen to you today, tomorrow, even 10 years from now, they're all still shaping who you are. So, this new way of thinking, it needed a whole new map for the human journey. And that map is called the lifespan perspective. And trust me, it has completely revolutionized how science looks at the way we change over time. To really get what this means, let's just look at the official definition. Developmental psychology used to be laser-focused on kids and teenagers, but the modern view is so much bigger. It's the scientific study of how we change and, just as importantly, how we stay the same, from the very moment of conception all the way to the end of life. Every single piece of that journey matters. And here's the thing, this change isn't just one simple thing. The lifespan perspective shows us that our growth is happening in three connected areas all at once. You've got the physical domain, that's your body, your brain, your health. Then there's the cognitive domain, how you think, you learn, you remember things. And finally, the psychosocial domain, your emotions, your personality, your relationships. The crucial part to get is that these three are always talking to each other. Think about it. A physical change, like a toddler finally learning to walk, totally blows open their social and cognitive world. Okay, so if development is this huge, lifelong, multi-part process, what are the rules of the road? Well, a psychologist named Paul Baltus was a real pioneer here, and he laid out a set of core principles that act as our guide for this new map of life. And these principles really show you just how complex we are. Development is lifelong, which means what happens in your 40s is just as important as what happened when you were 4. It's multi-directional, so at the same time, you might be gaining wisdom, but maybe losing a little bit of that quick recall. It's multi-contextual. The time and history you were born, your culture, it all shapes you. It's multidisciplinary. You can't possibly understand it without pulling in ideas from biology, sociology, you name it. And finally, and this one is a really big deal, it's characterized by plasticity. Plasticity might just be the most hopeful idea of them all. What it means is that change is always possible. Your brain, your habits, your skills, they're not set in concrete. They're malleable. They can be reshaped. This is the science behind why you can absolutely learn a new language at 60 or break a lifelong habit. It means we can adapt and grow no matter how old we are. Now, trying to understand this new map means we have to wrestle with some of the biggest, oldest questions in psychology. These debates are the framework for how researchers even begin to study our lifelong journey. First up, the classic nature versus nurture. Are you who you are because of your DNA, or is it all about how you were raised in the world you live in? For years, people argued passionately for one side or the other. But today, most experts agree it's not a competition. It's more like a dance. Nature and nurture are in a constant, dynamic interplay. You can't really pull them apart. They're always working together to make you, well, you. The next big debate is about the shape of our development. Is it a smooth, gradual process, like a tree getting a little bit taller each year? That's the idea of continuity. Or is it more like a ladybug, which goes through these really distinct, totally different stages, from larva to pupa to the bug we all recognize? That's discontinuity. And you know what? The real answer probably depends on what specific part of development you're looking at. So all of this brings us to a really fascinating question. If our development is this complex, what does age even mean anymore? It turns out the number of candles on your birthday cake doesn't tell the whole story. Developmentalists actually look at age in a few different ways. First, you've got the one we all know, chronological age. Simple enough. It's just how many years you've been alive. And yeah, it's useful for things like birthdays or getting a driver's license, but on its own, it's actually not very informative about a person's real health or maturity. A much more telling number might be your biological age. This is all about the physical condition of your body, sort of like the mileage on a car. Things like your diet, how much you exercise, stress, your genes, they all play a part. It's why one 40-year-old might have the heart of a 30-year-old, while another might be on a much faster aging track. And then, beyond your body, there's your psychological age. This is all about your ability to adapt, how well you learn, cope with life's curveballs, and handle your emotions compared to other people your age. This is why you can meet a 20-year-old who just seems so wise beyond their years, or a 60-year-old who has this incredibly curious, flexible, and youthful mind. And look, these aren't just abstract ideas. They have serious, real-world consequences. Just look at what happened in the first year of the COVID-19 pandemic. It caused this shocking drop in life expectancy in the US. That's a direct hit to the biological age of an entire population. And as this data clearly shows, that major historical event had a direct, measurable, and tragically unequal impact on different groups. It's a powerful reminder of how much the world around us is shaping our journey. So what this all boils down to is that you aren't just one age. You're actually a combination of different ages, which brings it all back to you. When you think about your physical health, your mental sharpness, your emotional maturity, and yeah, the number of years you've been on the planet, what's the answer? How old are you really? The lifespan perspective tells us that the answer is always changing, because the most important thing to remember is your journey of development never truly ends.